So what's every championship club the worst at? Let's find out. Guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. What I've gone ahead and done is found one stat from this season where your club sits at the bottom of the pile, or the top of the pile, depending on if it's a good or bad stat. If we could hit 350 likes on today's video, that would be massively appreciated. But without any further ado, let's find out what every championship club's been the worst at this season. Starting out with Sheffield Wednesday, who have been the worst side for picking up points after falling behind in matches. They've only picked up 1 point for this last season after they've fallen behind in a match. Now that, more so than anything, surely shows a weak mentality within that squad, and this is the job that Darren Moore's got on his hands over this summer to try and change around the mentality of this whole Wednesday team. We obviously got the retained list from Sheffield Wednesday the other day as well. There's going to be a massive clear out over this summer, and that 1 point that they did pick up from the losing position did actually come on the last day of the season against Derby, who were also pretty bad from those losing positions as well. So yeah, that's a big area of concern where Wednesday really need to be better for next season in League One. Rotherham have had problems with keeping the ball out of the back of the net. They picked up the fewest amounts of clean sheets from this past season, only 9 to show for it. Now they've not conceded the most amount of goals in the championship. We'll get to that team in just a second, but in terms of consistently conceding like 1 or 2 goals per game, that's been a bit of an issue for Rotherham and something that they're going to look to rectify heading into next season. Wycombe have been the worst side this season for conceding goals after the 90-minute mark. 5 goals they've conceded after 90 minutes have been on the clock, and you just think back to yourselves, if 1 or 2 of those goals didn't come in, it could have been oh so different for Wycombe this season, who just went down by the slimmest of margins. But yeah, so having those concentrations levels towards the end of the matches and stuff like that is obviously something that Wycombe are going to be looking into. Derby's problem this season has come from scoring from open play. They've scored the fewest amount of goals from open play this season, only 18 goals in this previous season Derby scored from open play, which is absolutely shocking considering, I mean, the expectations of Derby going into this season and everything like that. This is a massive problem, make no mistakes about it, and at this point in time Derby probably are the favourites to be going down next season unless there is this massive overhaul with the team going into next season, because 18 goals from open play all season is really bad. Huddersfield have had a problem with defending. They've conceded the most amount of goals in the championship this season. 71 goals conceded really is shocking, and that's something that is going to need to be rectified going into next season. They've already started on that process with the signing of Matty Pearson, who's come over from Luton, a bit more of a no-nonsense defender. And Huddersfield are also the only side in the championship this season not to have scored a penalty. They have been given 3 of them, but they missed all 3. Bristol City need to shoot more going into next season because they've had the fewest amounts of shots this season. They've only had 496 shots. Now to put that into a bit of context, the next worst side in the championship for the least amount of shots has 134 more than Bristol City. So that shows how far down the pecking order Bristol City have been in terms of creativity in the final third and actually pulling the trigger. Now Bristol City may have had the fewest shots in the championship this season, but Birmingham need to brush up on their accuracy a little bit because they've had the fewest amounts of shots on target this season. Only 129 shots Birmingham have had on target this season, which is the worst in the championship. So a little bit more accuracy is needed from Birmingham. And sticking with the theme of shooting, Nottingham Forest this season have the worst shot conversion rate. So they're having, you know, a fair few amount of shots, but not many of them are going in. They've had a conversion rate this season of only 4.9%, which is the worst conversion rate in the championship. It shows that their strikers haven't exactly been on song this season. You know, the Lewis Grabmans, the Lyle Taylors. A striker is an area where we all expect Nottingham Forest to go in for this summer, and judging off that stat, it's probably needed. Coventry need to stop giving away penalties going into next season. They've given away the most penalties this season with 11 conceded. That is obscene numbers from Coventry there. And maybe a couple of them have been harsh and things like that, but stop fouling people in the box, guys. To partner alongside that, Coventry have also been the most dribbled past team this season. They've been dribbled past 436 times, which I thought was quite interesting. For Blackburn Rovers, their defenders need to chip in with a few more goals next season because they've had the fewest amounts of goals scored this season by defenders compared to any other championship club. Only 1 goal this season has been scored by a defender for Blackburn, and that defender was Derek Williams, who no longer plays for Blackburn. A lot of the goal scoring onus for Blackburn this season has fallen on the shoulders of Adam Armstrong. Whether he stays or goes this summer is yet to be seen, but yeah, a few more goals needed from the back line. For Stoke City, they have the worst cumulative save percentage this season. So only 63.6% of the shots on target that Stoke have faced this season have actually been saved, which is the worst in the Championship. So for that stat, that either means blocks by defenders or saves by goalkeepers. Obviously, the goalkeeper for Stoke this season has been muddled about throughout the season. I think that heading into next year, they need to have more of an established number one there, don't they? For Preston North End, we've been pretty bad at corners as it comes. We've had the least amount of accurate corners this season. Only 71 accurate corners Preston have taken. So that means a corner that's taken that then goes to a North End player. And with only 71 this season, that makes Preston the worst team at corners in the Championship. We need Paul Gallagher back pulling the strings for us on those set pieces, don't we? Luton Town this season haven't been fans of leaving things late. They're the only team in the Championship this season that failed to score in stoppage time of the first half and second half. They didn't score in either of them this season, which is absolutely mad. So Luton weren't involved in too much late drama in terms of them scoring a late goal. Maybe that's something that they'll look for going into next season. Millwall have scored the fewest amounts of goals this season from inside the 6-yard box. Only 3 of Millwall's goals this season came from inside the 6-yard box. It shows a different approach to playing the sort of goals that Millwall have scored this season. You know, they're not someone who has like a poacher that's standing up front like a few more other teams maybe, that's lurking in and around that 6-yard box. So maybe someone like that could be useful for Millwall, who knows. For Middlesbrough, they've blocked the fewest amounts of crosses this season. Only 53 blocked crosses this season for Middlesbrough, which was the lowest in the Championship. Probably that shows something about their style of play and the fact that they don't actually face all too many crosses. They close them down maybe at earlier opportunities, but yeah, interesting nonetheless. QPR have conceded from the most amount of counter-attacks this season, so it shows they are a little bit susceptible to teams breaking at them. They've conceded from 8 counter-attacks this season, which is more than any other Championship side this season. QPR have definitely improved from a defensive aspect. You know, in years gone by, QPR have always been that sort of team who's got a little bit of flair going forward, but pretty unreliable at the back. But they've certainly worked on that this season. You know, with Seny Dieng, who's been brilliant, Barber, who's improved, and Rob Dickie coming into that back line as well. But yeah, 8 counter-attacks conceded from was quite interesting. Cardiff have been shown the most amount of second yellow cards this season in the Championship. On 3 separate occasions, a Cardiff player has been shown a second yellow card and has been sent off by the referee. So Cardiff players need to calm down a little bit when they're already on the yellow card. Reading have been the most dispossessed side in the Championship this season. They've lost the ball 473 times, which is more than any other Championship team. What it shows is Reading are sort of willing to lose the ball. You know, they do average a lot of dribbles per 90 and that sort of thing, so they do take those risks within the final third, but obviously that can be a double-edged sword with them also losing the ball a lot. Bournemouth make the fewest amounts of tackles per 90 in the Championship, only 11.7 tackles on average per 90, which is the lowest number in the Championship. What this is probably a result of is Bournemouth holding on to the ball a lot, so obviously when you're in possession you don't need to make all too many tackles and things like that, but an interesting stat nonetheless. Bournemouth, you need to be tackling more. Barnsley have been most susceptible to conceding goals late on in the first half, so in first half stoppage time, Barnsley have conceded 6 goals this season, which is by far and away the most in the Championship for that number. As soon as it gets to that 45-minute mark, Barnsley seems to switch off. They need to keep their focus in that little time frame between then and half-time going into next season. Swansea need to keep themselves onside a little bit more. They've been caught offside more times this season than any other Championship side. 123 times this season has a Swansea player been caught offside. Obviously, someone like a Jamal Lowe likes to play on the shoulder and things like that, so obviously those tight margins will obviously be called against Swansea and things like that. But an interesting stat nonetheless. Swansea, you need to keep yourselves onside a little bit more. Brentford are the only Championship side this season to have not used a player from their academy. Now, I'm getting away with this stat a little bit because obviously, I mean, Brentford don't even have an academy. They have a B team instead. But trust me when I say that trying to find a negative stat from Brentford is near on impossible. These guys are like the master of stats. Like, I was looking for a stat that I could beat Brentford with for absolutely hours, but with every single metric, Brentford are in the top 3 of it somewhere. They're like the masters of stats within the Championship. They just don't have bad stats, Brentford, do they? So yeah, I am going to have to get away with that one a little bit. Watford have been shown the most amount of yellow cards this season. 83 yellow cards Watford have managed to accumulate this season, with their most booked player being Nathaniel Chalobah, who's been booked 12 times this season. Watford obviously don't mind a bit of tactical fouling and stuff like that to slow the game down when necessary. And finally for Norwich, who have missed more big chances than any other Championship side this season. Now obviously you need to, you know, put the disclaimer in there that Norwich have also created, I think, the second most amount of big chances this season. I think that Brentford have only created more than they have this season. But still, 56 big chances missed is a fair few. I think that Timu Pukki must have missed about 50 of them when Norwich came to play Preston away. He was sent through on goal so many times, but it just wasn't his day in front of goal. But yeah, 56 big chances missed for Norwich this season, which I thought was quite the interesting stat. But guys, there we have it. There was every Championship club and what they've been worst at this season. If you like this sort of video idea and you like to see me do it with a couple more ideas that I've got, do leave a like on today's video. Like I said, if we get it 350, that would be massively appreciated. Make sure to stick around as well and subscribe for a bit of regular Championship content. Check out the Patreon link for that is down below. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching and I'll see you all in the next one.